All right, welcome back. We're going to do another week of training here at Rail Trail on your open book management program. This week, we're going to talk about reputation management and revenue growth. So here's the most important point of this session. The best way to grow revenue is to effectively manage our reputation. From cents to dollars, through the cash register to the bank. The best way to grow revenue is to effectively manage our reputation. We're going to learn a lot about taking care of our guests and finding a way to get positive word of mouth from them, which is going to be the key to growing and maintaining our revenue here at Rail Trail Flatbread. And here's the most important thing that we're going to hear over and over again. The best way to manage our reputation is to focus on the emotional experience of our guests and make them feel important. What you want to do is imagine that there's a sign hanging around every person in the restaurant's neck that says, "Make me feel important." Got it? Make them feel important. So let's talk about hospitality and service. And there is a difference in our minds between those two things. Pause the video here and take a couple of minutes and write down what you define as hospitality. Like, what were some words that you would use to define hospitality? And when you're ready, hit play and we'll go to the next slide. All right, so you're back. We're going to talk about some examples and their opposites of what we mean by hospitality. Polite, hospitable, rude, not so much. Attentive, inclusive, personal, patient, respectful. Basically being a good human being, okay, and really caring about our guests as if they were guests in our home. That's what the essence of hospitality is, and that's the way we expect you and everybody on our team to act and work here at Rail Trail with our guests. But you know, it's not just our guests. Hospitality really begins with how we treat each other, and we're going to call that internal hospitality. So internal hospitality is going to be defined by things like greeting each other by name. Do you know the name of your teammates? Do you say hello to them by name? Getting to know each other as people. You know, they're not just coworkers, hopefully, to you. They're people who you're spending a good amount of time in your life with. Get to know them. Find out what they care about outside of work. What do they dream about? What would they like to be later in their life? Ultimately, we want to make sure that everybody we're interacting with feel cared about and respected in every interaction they have. You're lucky enough to be working at a values-driven business here at Rail Trail. We care about our people. We care about you. We care about our community. And care and respect should come through in every interaction we have with each other and with our guests. We want to make sure that we're polite and careful with our promises. The easy way to say this is do what you say you're going to do and don't overcommit. Do you know how to appreciate your coworkers? Do they prefer a high five? Spending some quality time with you, perhaps hearing some words of acknowledgement. How do people feel appreciated in your world, and what can you do to make sure that you know and they know that you are on their side and appreciate their work? And ultimately, everything starts with the leadership. The great news is we got a great leadership team here at Rail Trail who's hopefully modeling this with the staff every day, day in, day out. So leadership and our management team is where making a great place to work is started. But let's be clear about it. Really, what makes a great place to work are the people on your team, your coworkers, okay? Leadership can only do so much. Have you ever had a time when you walked in and you saw someone else was on a shift with you and you just kind of sighed, can't believe I got to work with them tonight or today. They're not going to be on it. I'm going to have to pick up their slack. I'm going to have to cover for their mistakes. You know, it just really takes the wind out of your sails when you walk in and you see that that person's on the shift. Here's a question for you. What do people think when they see they're working with you on a shift? Hopefully what they think is, oh man, I'm so psyched to get to work with this awesome employee. They're on top of it. They're going to make sure that everything goes really well today. It's going to be a great shift. Hopefully that's what they say. And give that a little reflection. If that's not something you would imagine that everybody says about you, then maybe there's some things you could do to become a better coworker for them. Ultimately, great coworkers make a great place to work. Pause the video now, write down 3 to 5 things that you think make a great coworker, and when you're ready, press play. We'll go to the next slide. Now let's talk about, as we look at this sad face over here, let's talk about how hospitality has an impact on our reputation and our guests. Have you ever gone to a restaurant where you could feel that the staff didn't want to be there, they didn't want you there, no one was happy, there were no smiles, they were literally just trying to run out the clock, maybe even angry or aggravated? This one right over here, serving up some buckets of fries and burgers, looks like, with a big old frown, kind of despondent, sad, whatever. Not what we're looking for, okay? And how did that, if you had that experience, how did that affect your opinion of the business? You're probably not very likely to go back. You might have gone on to social media or one of the review sites like Yelp, said something negative about it, might have made a complaint, or even worse, you might have told the people in your life, hey, this is a really lame experience. These people at the register kind of bummed out, didn't really enjoy the food. I'm not going to be back. So if this is a first job in the hospitality world for you, you may not know Danny Meyer, but if you don't know him, you might be familiar with some of his restaurants. He's one of the partners of the Union Square Hospitality Group in New York, more commonly known these days for being the person behind Shake Shack, which is a national chain. And Danny is really looked at as one of, if not the uh, leader in the hospitality portion of our business. And here's a book from him called Setting the Table. It's really considered the preeminent book in hospitality. If you'd like to read it, we have copies of it available for you. But here's a quote from that book that's really important when we start thinking deeper about hospitality. To be on a guest side requires listening to that person with every sense, and following up with a thoughtful, gracious, appropriate response. So the point here is that we can't have the same sort of approach to every guest. Every guest is going to be a different place emotionally or with their schedule. You're not the same every day, neither are they. So what we need to do is we need to be really tuned in to what it is that a guest might need and do everything we can to give them the response that gets them there. Now, there are two different types of ways that a staff member can interact with guests as it relates to our rules, policies, the way that we do things, our systems, okay? The first one we're going to take a look at is what we're going to call gatekeeping, okay? Now, gatekeepers are focused on upholding and enforcing the rules, okay? The rules of the house, the way that we do things, and the way that things are typically done for our guests. They tend not to be very sensitive to the guest needs or emotional experience. Check out this one down here. No, we only take credit card or whatever it is that the problem is. Ultimately, when we're focused on upholding the rules, we're not really focused on optimizing and creating a great experience for our guests, which is what we want to do. And we're not really conveying or telling the guests, hey, I'm on your side. No, I'm sorry, I can't do that. We don't have reservations for 8. And leave it there. That doesn't work, okay? Or no, I'm sorry, that's no longer available on the menu. And leave it there. That's telling them, hey, this is the way that we do things, and stop inconveniencing me by being here trying to spend your money with us. We want to be on their side, and we want them to feel that. What we need to know is how and when to bend the rules in the interest of hospitality, or what we need to do in order to be bending rules so that we can create a great experience for our guests. Here's what we want to be. We want to be advocating for the guests. We want to be on their side, okay? And here's some things that guest advocates will do. Number one is a guest advocate's going to focus on identifying and predicting the needs of the guest, okay? Are they engaging with you at the table if you're a server and asking questions and seeming like they want to have a conversation? Well, let's have a conversation with them. Are they being very sort of like in-depth in the conversation with the other folks that they're at the table with? Maybe they don't want to have a conversation with us. They just like prompt service and to be left to their discussion. Maybe they're getting engaged. Maybe they're breaking up. Who knows? But ultimately, we should know. We should be focusing on identifying and predicting what the guest needs are and then responding to them. Ultimately, we're trying to help the guests get what they want. If we need to help them navigate, find ways to overcome obstacles, that's what we should do. Oh, you wanted a table for 4? I'm sorry we don't have one ready right now, but You know, if you go across the street, have a drink at less than greater than, come back in about half an hour, 45 minutes, we should be able to accommodate you. Oh, I'm sorry, we don't have that on the menu anymore, but you know, we have something very similar. How would that sound? Still doesn't work? Let me go talk to the chef and Expo and see if there's anything we can do for you. And if you come back to a guest after that, even if you come back and say no, they're going to appreciate that you tried to help them overcome that obstacle. We want them to see that we're on their side. We want them to have the best possible experience, regardless of whether or not what they're asking for is something we normally do. And again, we want to know how and when to bend our rules in the interest of hospitality, or what we need to do, like maybe asking a manager to be able to do that for them. That's about being on their side. And when we do this, guess what we're doing? We're protecting and enhancing the emotional experience of the guest. Emotional experience of the guest, very important. Most important thing we're going to talk about throughout this whole thing. How do we make sure they have a great emotional experience with us? All right, and again, here it is. What's our mission? Boom. Focus on the emotional experience of our guests and make them feel important. Remember, they got that sign right around their neck. Make me feel important. Make them feel important. All right, now let's talk about the host position. This is an important job, actually one of the most important jobs when it comes to giving great hospitality to our guests. They can make or break our experience of our guests and our hospitality. So why is that? Well, first of all, they're the first person to interact with the guests, and we're going to set the tone in that first greeting. Okay, are we enthusiastic? Are we lighting up when we see them, or are we in the weeds, really busy, and not really giving them a warm greeting? Okay, that can make the difference between them having a great experience or them having an okay experience, or maybe even them not having a so great experience. All right. And if we extend that welcome promptly and effectively, that guest is going to be teed up for a great time with us at the Rail Trail. Important that folks at the host station be able to read people, okay, instantly, instinctively, and engage all types of people in all types of mood. Are they into discussion? Do they want to make jokes? Or are they just trying to get set as quickly as they can? All right, now servers. Servers, we want to get past what are called steps to service. If this is one of your first jobs in the food service industry, you may not know what steps to service are, but here's what they are. Basically, these are the steps we're going to take to serve our guests, okay? We're going to seat them at the table. We're going to get them a menu. We're going to take their drink orders. We're going to so on and so on and so on, okay? These are the steps we're taking in order to serve our guests, okay? But at the end of the day, the expectation of every guest is that we get that right every single time. No one ever expects, well, sometimes the order is going to be wrong like half the time, okay? That's not good enough. That's where a lot of our competition is focused. We need to be focused on something past that, okay? Steps to service, that's basic requirement. That's ticket to play. We need to get beyond that by becoming so good at service so that we don't even have to think about it. We just do it right every time. We want to be able to do that so that we can, wait for it, come on, you know what's coming. Focus on the emotional experience, right? Make them feel important. That's what we're doing. That's the way we're going to grow revenue. That's the way we're going to have a great hospitality experience for our guests. All right, so we're going to switch up a little bit now and talk about our neighborhood and introduce a new concept to you here. So let's imagine that this triangle here is a 1 mile radius around the rail trail. Okay, this is our neighborhood. Now, what percentage of our neighborhood, our marketplace, do you think has tried our restaurant in the past 2 years? Okay, write that down in your notes. What percentage has tried it in the past 2 years? Might it be here? Maybe something like 50%? 50% tried it? Or maybe here, maybe it's like 70, 75% of our guests in the neighborhood have tried us. Or maybe it's a little less, like maybe 25%. I don't know. A lot of different numbers here. What do we think it is? So there it is, 5% or fewer. Can you believe that? Only 5% or fewer. You know who can't believe that? Macaulay Culkin. Macaulay Culkin is home alone. He's like, I can't believe it's only 5% of people or fewer. That's a huge majority of our people who've never come to our restaurant in years, if ever. Huge number of people. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. All right, so what can we do about that? Well, obviously what we need to do is get some of those people, this big group of people, the 95% or whatever around us, who have yet to come in for the first time. Okay, that's our job. So, how do we get more people to try us out? We're going to break that down into 3 different strategies that are common for restaurants to get people in the door. Number 1 is going to be advertising. So this is going to be paying for marketing or press services that will get us coverage or get us out there and exposed to the world through publications and stuff like that. Let me tell you that that is a very expensive proposition. Another thing we can do is events. Okay, events are a great way to get people in. We do a lot of like tap takeovers and things like that at Rail Trail. So events, special reasons to get people to come in. Sometimes to reach a new audience. That also takes a lot of work. Not always a lot of money, but sometimes. So there's some pluses and minuses to events. But here's the deal. This business, the restaurant business, is a word of mouth business. Okay. How many times have you gone somewhere because someone has said, hey, I had a great time there, or hey, they have great food there, they have a great vibe there, whatever it is. Referrals, word of mouth, absolutely the best way to get people to come in and try out our business. You know, advertising, like I said, very expensive. Thousands and thousands of dollars for some types of advertising, and it's shown to not be that effective for restaurants. Events, you know, cost a little bit of money, also takes quite a bit of time. A lot of effort to organize an event. Word of mouth is where it's at, though. We see a bunch of pennies. You know, this is a game of pennies. One guest can add up to a lot of money if they come back to us time and time out, year after year. Okay. So here we are back on reputation management and saying that this is the key to top line growth. Okay, this is the way we're going to get the most guests in the restaurant, and if we do the right job once those guests are with us by again focusing on their emotional experience, don't forget that, making them feel important, don't forget that. If we do that, they're going to tell people, hey, I had a great time, they really took care of me, what an awesome place, let's go again next weekend, you should go up there tomorrow. Okay, and you know what that costs? Nothing. Costs us nothing other than doing a great job when we've got someone in front of us during service at the restaurant. So here's our goal. If we want to grow this category of measly little 5%, we got to grow positive word of mouth. Okay, and we do that by fiercely managing our reputation. Now, you might imagine that there was something that happened to this whole word of mouth thing 10, 15, 20 years ago. And you guessed it, it's the internet. Now, word of mouth is even more important. It's not just they're talking to the people in their lives. They could be talking to tens, dozens, hundreds, thousands of people on social media or review sites when they post their reviews of their experience with us. So managing our reputation now more important than ever. And let me tell you, the competition, the people in our market that are also serving the guests that we serve or serving the market that we serve, they're pretty passive in general in terms of the way that they're managing their reputation. They're leaving it to chance. So this is a big competitive advantage for us here at the Rail Trail because we're really good at managing our reputation, and you're now a part of that system with us. All right, so now we're going to zoom in into that small little 5% of people who have been in our restaurant the last couple of years and introduce a new concept. We're going to call it the guest pyramid. Okay, the guest pyramid. So we're going to break that little triangle at the top into 5 different groups, and we're going to talk about each different group throughout the rest of this presentation and how we ought to really treat and act towards them. We're going to look at 5 different types. So here we are, first-time guests. Obviously, those are people who have been in just once. They're here for the first time. Then we got occasional guests. Okay, so they've been here once and now they've come back. Awesome. Then we've got our regulars. These are the people who are in often. We know their face, we know their names. Above them, we've got promoters. Not only are they in a lot, but they tell people about it. And then at the tip top, you got a small, tiny little group we're going to call those critical friends, okay? These are the 5 types of guests. You should familiarize yourself with them. Know them because your mentor is going to ask you about them. All right, so let's talk about first-time guests, okay? First-time guests are the most likely group to talk about their experience. Let's say that again. First time you go somewhere, that's the most likely you are to talk about your experience, good or bad. So obviously that means for us, first time guests, really, really important, okay? And it makes sense, right? Someone comes in on a Monday morning into their office job, someone asks them, hey, how's your weekend, man? Great, I went to Rail Trail, I did this, had a great time. Okay, did you do anything special? Yes, I did. I went and saw my new friends at the Rail Trail. If we get the first time guest experience right, that's a critical step to managing our reputation and to growing our revenue. So let's talk about what shapes the first visit experience, okay? First impressions are lasting impressions. You may have heard that saying. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. So all leading us to the fact that we really got to get this first visit right for our guests, okay? So things that we got to be focused on. Did we give them a welcome that was genuine and excited and happy and warm and caring, okay? Were they ignored or kept waiting? Were they sort of trying to figure it out? I think we've all seen a guest that kind of is staring around, looking around, doesn't quite know where to go, what to do. Okay, that's a sign that we might want to intervene and give that guest some help. Were they able to navigate the menu? Did they know what we offer? Did we make it easy for them? Did we get them what they were looking for? Did we optimize their experience? Remember, for first-time guests, it's not about having them buy the most stuff or have the biggest check. It's about them having the best possible experience with us for their first time. All right, did we get honest help from guest advocates? Okay, so again, did we steer them to the most expensive item on the menu, or did we get them exactly the kind of dish that they wanted or the kind of meal or drink that they wanted with us for their first time? Was the meal memorable? Did we do a great job with the food, the presentation? Did we make suggestions that really suited their tastes and preferences? Did they make us feel respected and included? Okay, I think coming from the guest perspective. Certainly not just a warm greeting, but really warmth and care throughout their experience with us. And did they get good value? Did they feel that what they spent and the value they got, which includes their emotional experience, by the way, was a good value for the money? And ultimately, did we ask them to come back? Something that so many restaurants get wrong is they do everything up to that step right, but then they don't invite them back. It's sort of like, hey, have a good time at our party, come back again. We're doing this thing next week. I think you'll love it. If you like this on the menu, we're going to be coming out with a new menu. There'll be something that you love. Come back, join us for that. We've got an event coming up. Whatever it is, encourage them to return. Always give them a reason to come back. Okay, so on your notepad, in your notes, take a moment, pause this video, and write down a couple of ways you think we or you can currently identify if someone's here for the first time. What are some indicators? What are some things we can notice to tell us, hey, it's someone's first time here? And then when you're ready, press play on the video. Okay, you're back. So now what I want you to do is get ready, make a note, ask your mentor when you meet with them, what are we doing with first-time guests right now? What's our system, okay? And be ready to hear about the way that we're dealing with and accommodating our first-time guests now here at the Rail Trail. All right, so here's the hardest part, ultimately, of managing the experience of the first-time guest. All of it has to feel natural and sincere. Hi, my name is Joe, and I'll be taking care of you today at every single table. May sound great once, but guess what? It doesn't feel natural. It's not sincere. And that's why we're better than chain restaurants, because we're genuine. So got to be natural and sincere. And you can't really fake it. You do have to actually care about our guests. And you should. They're the ones keeping us in business, giving you opportunities to have a job and some profit sharing and be a part of this great team here at Rail Trail. And remember, it all starts with how we act with each other. if we take care of ourselves and we give real hospitality and care about each other as people on the team, then guess what? When the guest comes in, we don't have to act differently. We can just act the way that we normally act when we're at work. We take care of people, we care about people, we operate from good values, and you know what? Everything comes through that will be genuine, natural, and very hospitable to everybody that's around, and quite frankly, makes it a fun place to work. Now, the best outcome for all this? Guests are leaving with this feeling. I had a wonderful experience and they really took care of us. I met the owner, the manager, the chef. That's my place now and I have to go back, okay? And that's what we want the first time to end with. A feeling like, that was awesome, I gotta go back again, okay? Now, first time guests want to feel a certain way. And this is going to be true of each of the different guest categories in the pyramid. If they feel that way, they're going to come back on a more regular basis. First time guests, what they want to feel is welcome. They want to feel welcome in our home, in our restaurant, to our family here at Rail Trail. Welcome to the Rail Trail. Hope you had a great experience. We'd love to see you again. All right, so we got one other category of guest that is very likely to be talking about their experience. First timers are very, very likely, most likely, but there's another group that's very likely to talk about their experience, okay? And who might that group be? Here it comes. Ready? There it is again, that wonderful sound effect. Dissatisfied guests, unhappy guests, okay? They broke up in our restaurant. These two couples. The food was wrong, okay? This isn't what I ordered. I'm a terrible, awful reality chef that yells at people. Okay, unhappy guests, unhappy kids, unhappy babies. Okay, whatever. Dissatisfied guests, very likely to talk about their experience. If you don't believe me, go read some mean tweets. Go check out Yelp. I think we all know that people are very happy to complain these days, okay? And the veil of the internet makes it all too easy. But there's good news. Believe it or not, 96% of our unhappy customers, our unhappy guests, may never actually tell us about it. And why is that good news? Why is that something that we care about? Because it's a big opportunity. Because that's true in all these businesses. But you and our team here at Rail Trail, we're focused on hospitality. We're tuned into our guests, okay? So that means we're going to have a competitive advantage in this. And you're going to be surprised by what you're about to see. Believe it or not, we can turn around an unhappy guest, someone who's having a bad time. And if we do it promptly, okay, promptly, that means up to 95% of those guests are going to come back or are willing to come back if they feel like we resolved their complaint promptly. Now, that might not even be solving the problem, okay? There may be nothing we can do to solve that individual problem. But they will remember. Unhappy guests will remember how we took care of them and when and how we made them important. Not necessarily what the problem was that they had in the first place, okay? So we've got a system to deal with that here at Rail Trail. We call it guest at risk reporting, okay? Guest at risk reporting, meaning we're tuned in, we identify that a guest might be at risk of leaving unhappy, and we have a system to address that. So you're going to have a few different handouts with this week's material. How's everything here? A system for guests at risk, and the Wu-Tang Arugula exercise, which was created by your team here at Rail Trail. Amazing. So what we want you to do is read those handouts, you take some notes, discuss them with your mentor. You can do that now by pressing pause, or you do that at the end of the session when you're done with the video. So let's take a look back here at our guest pyramid. Okay, we've talked about first-time guests. Now we're going to talk about our goal. So our goal is to continuously be moving our guests up the levels of the pyramid. We want first-timers to come back every once in a while. We want occasional guests to come more often, become regulars. We want those regulars to be champions, and so on and so on and so on, okay? And at each level of pyramid, we're going to have a different feeling that our guests are going to want to have. All right, so our goal here is to get these first-time guests to what? Feel welcome, all right? If we get them to feel welcome, they're going to become an occasional guest. They're going to come back and say, wow, I had such a great time. You took such a great care of me at Rail Trail. I'm coming back. All right. I'm going to be there every once in a while now. Okay. Great. Welcome back. So glad to have you back. Occasional guest. So now let's talk about this group, the occasional guests. Who are they? So the good news is we made an impression on them. The first time they were here, they had a good experience. And they've come back. They said, "Oh, I got to go try it again, or I got to get back there." Okay, so good job. They've returned. They know the menu. They've ordered some food. They generally know what to expect. Maybe they know where the bathrooms are this time. Okay, they know that there might be a wait at 7:30 on a Friday. So they have some expectations. They're not visiting all the time, but not routinely. But they are coming every once in a while, maybe once a month, once every 6 weeks, something like that. But yet, they don't really feel connected and included. You know, they had a great experience, but they've only been here once or a couple of times. You know, they enjoy it, but they don't feel like it's really their place yet. So, how do we make them feel included? In sneak preview, you know, maybe this is the feeling that they want to feel, this inclusion thing, okay? But how do we do that? What can we do? Well, first and foremost, let's not be in a hurry. Let's engage with them. Let's spend some time getting to know them as people. Service again always has to be attentive, but let's advocate for them. You know, if they want something special, let's go out of our way to try and make them do that or receive that service. And oh, by the way, they've been here before, which means it's not a setting of expectations. They actually had some expectations when they walked in the second, third time, because they've been here before. They know what to expect. Now we need to go above and beyond. If we just meet their expectations, they're probably not going to move from that occasional guest thing. They're going to be going around. Maybe they have a place they prefer. But if we exceed their expectations, well, now we've got a real opportunity. And here is one thing that is going to set us apart, learning their names. If we can learn their names and see that we actually recognize them and know them in our restaurant, this is going to make a huge, huge world of difference. Now you might be saying, oh man, but I'm so bad with names. Too bad. You're going to learn. Just kidding, but not really. All right, so this guy named Dale Carnegie, very famous back in the day, 100 years ago when I was about 50. And Dale is like the master of motivational talk. He's like back when people were listening to tapes, he used to do all these tapes. Real popular, very positive guy. And he had this saying about names. He said, remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. Very poetic. Also very true. People like when you call them by their name. They feel recognized. They feel important. Okay, so this is a key thing, and we're going to learn in the next couple of slides how to learn names, or at least a couple of ways how. And let's go on and do that now. All right, so the name of the game is how do we learn people's names, whether we're good at it or whether we're not. Well, how do we do it now? Is there a way to do it now? What do you do now? Take a moment, pause the video, write down any ways that you currently learn a guest name. If you don't, that's fine. Move on. How else could we learn them? All right, so we're going to find out in a minute some ideas, but there may be some ways that you can pick up from other members of the team to learn our guest names. And how do they learn our names? Do we introduce ourselves? Do we talk to each other? Do we address each other by name? And oh, by the way, back to that internal hospitality thing, if we make it a point to always call each other by name, guess what? Now the guests are learning our names passively. We're in the mode of learning people's names as the way that we do things at Rail Trail. Saying you're bad at names like I used to do is not an excuse. Remembering names is the skill you can learn, and with the right method, you can get good at it. And again, common and recurring theme. Our competitors not focused in on this at all, probably not doing any training around this. The fact that you are gives us a big, big advantage over all of them. Okay, so now let's move on to some strategies on learning names. So here you're going to see a video. It's going to be weird, maybe even a little uncomfortable, but I'm telling you right now, you're going to learn something from this. So take a look, take a listen, see what you come up with.
A bit. Let's pretend like this guy's, well, first of all, focus ourselves. Next, what's his file? It's going to be his goatee. His name is Matt, so I want you to imagine yourself wiping your feet on his goatee. He's a mat, a doormat. This guy right here has got really blue eyes. His name is Brian. We're going to see a brain coming out his eyes. See a brain oozing out his eyes. Brain for Brian. The next one, here's our guy Aaron. Here's his nose. I want you to see that arrow coming through here. Boom! Over here, this woman's name is Sally. And Sally has got, what do we have unique about her? I like her, how these lines on her face right here. These lines, and she's got a dimple right here. In these lines and in these dimple, we see a salad. Salad for Sally. So we're eating a salad. Eating a salad in those lines. The next one, this guy right here, his name is Paul. His file is going to be his eyebrows. Paul is a ball. I want you to see a basketball bouncing up and down in his eyebrows. Basketball. Her file is definitely her eyes, and in her eyes, you are going to see missiles. She's shooting missiles out of her eyes because her name is Michelle. Next, this woman, we are going to use her, let's use her cheeks. Right here on her cheeks, and her name is Karen. So I want you to see her cheeks are made out of carrots. Imagine yourself eating carrots off of her cheeks. This woman, her file is her nostril right here. And going up inside of her nostril, we are going to put Candy, because her name is Candy. She's got candy coming out right here. So let's go back and review. This person's name, Matt, because of the doormat. This person's name, Brian, because of the brain. Aaron, the arrow. Sally, the salad. Paul, the basketball. Michelle, the missile. Karen, the carrot. And Candy right here. Remembering names is easy. Focus, file, picture, action, and review.
All right, so very weird, right? Super, super weird, but it is really true, and it is a technique that you can learn names really well. This guy's a memory champion. I bet you didn't even know people could compete on memory. Oh my goodness, but here it is, Ron White, memory champion, 2 times actually. So if you go to www.brainathlete.com, you can tell that I'm 100 years old because I just said www. Anyway, you're going to go to that website, learn a little bit more about memorizing faces and names, and we are going to have a little quiz on people's names from that video, so I hope you paid attention.
A bit. Let's pretend like this
All right, now here is our goal for occasional guests. We wanted those first-time guests to feel welcome, and if they did, they become occasional guests. Now, if occasional guests feel included, if they feel included,
well, we're moving on up.
Moving on up. That's right. We're going to be moving on up to the next category of guests, and they're going to become regulars. And that's what happens when we exceed expectations and they feel included. Okay. First time guests, we want them to feel welcome. Occasional guests, we want them to feel included. Now we're going to talk about regulars, which is the next section of our guest pyramid. But before we do, one more time, occasional guests want to feel included, just like Zoidberg. Hooray, I'm included. Okay, so let's talk about regulars. Regulars are maybe our most important category of guests. They're all important, but the regulars are the ones that keep us in business, okay? They are coming back time and again. We know their faces, know their names because they're in once a week, twice a week, once every couple of weeks. They're a part of our community. And we want them to feel like they're insiders, okay? We want to acknowledge the fact that, hey, you're in here all the time. We know you. We know your name. We know your face. We know what you like. We know you have preferences. And, hey, thank you so much. You're part of our team. We recognize them by sight, by name, by preference. Just said it. You know, we know what they like. We know who they are. We know what they look like. We know their name. Okay, we know stuff about them, just like you know people on your team. And if we can get them to feel acknowledged and important, that's the goal for us in this category, okay? Acknowledged and important. Because remember, every guest has a sign around their neck that says, make me feel important. All right, so how do we get them to feel acknowledged, these regulars? Well, first and foremost, we want to greet them by name whenever possible, okay? At the host station, at the table, at the bar, wherever. If we're walking by, we see them, we see their name, see their face rather, boom. Hey, how's it going, Todd? Great to see you again. Let's make sure that they get a chance to meet people of importance, so people of, well, not importance, everybody's important, but people who have bigger jobs in the restaurant, more senior positions, MOD or manager on duty, the chef, the owners. Let's introduce them. Let's bring them over. They're all too happy, those folks on our team, to go over and greet our regulars and thank them for being with us today. If they have preferences, let's grant them. Do they prefer to sit at the corner of the bar? Do they want to be at table 4 every time? Where do they want to sit? Do they have a server they love? Do we know what they like to drink? Lots of different opportunities there to gather intelligence and make sure that we grant the preferences that our regulars have. And these are the groups that we want to, this is a group rather that we want to treat to the little extras. These are the ones, the guests that we want to send over the extra thing that they didn't order or bring over the thing that is new on the menu, or maybe even bring over something that isn't on the menu yet. Okay, let's treat them to little extras in the house. And oh, by the way, one way to acknowledge someone and make them feel important is to get their opinions. Hey, we've got this new thing on the menu. Want to try it? What do you think? Hey, we're going to launch this new program. We haven't announced it yet, but I'm telling you about it now because you're an insider. Hey, you had an idea about the music. I loved it. We told our management team, and now we're going to do something about it. I don't know. Whatever their opinions are, let's listen about it. Let's hear about it. And maybe if it's a good idea or an opinion, let's do something about it. And the next time they're in, thank them for helping us. All right. So again, for regulars, the whole key here is to have them feel acknowledged. Okay. First time guests, what do we want? Welcome. Occasional guests, there every once in a while, inclusion. Now we're on the regulars, and what do we want? We want acknowledgement. That's right. We want them to be acknowledged, and if they are, they're going to move up to a very exclusive group in our guest pyramid called the promoters. Okay. All right. So who are the promoters? Let's find out. But first, let's talk about what our regulars want. They want to feel acknowledged. Okay. Regulars want to feel acknowledged. They want to feel like an insider at Rail Trail. That's how we optimize their emotional experience. All right, so who are our promoters? Well, you could think of them like our super regulars, Superman, Superwoman, whatever it is, okay? They're super regulars. They're not just in on a regular basis. We don't just know them by name and sight. They're even more special because they're telling everybody that they can that our place is the place to go eat and drink because that's their place. They're bringing people in, they're telling their friends, they're telling their associates, they're writing great reviews. There's a couple that was in with us early on in our days, and ask Michael Caceres about this story when you see him. But that couple was acknowledged for coming back in and bringing some folks with them very early on in our first year of business, and we still see them today on a regular basis. And you know what they do almost all the time? They got new people with them every time, right? Just bringing people in, telling them about it, sharing that special place that they have in their heart for Rail Trail with them, and creating new first-time guests, which allow us to create new occasional guests, and on and on and on and on and on. Starting to see now why this is so important for revenue? I hope so. All right. So again, a super regular promoter, it feels like Rail Trail is their place, okay? And we always are going to go out of our way to take care of them because we know what they want, we're tuned into them, and they're really important to us. Part of being important to us is we're always going to listen to and respect them. What's going to happen is they're even going to know our names, okay? Because they've been here with us so much and we've interacted with them so authentically that they probably have gone out of their way to learn our names because they feel like they're a part of our team. And if we can make them continuously feel appreciated, okay, because they are so important to our business and so important to our community, that's going to be helping us reach our goal with our promoters. Okay, the key with them is appreciation. All right, so let's imagine a little story here about keeping promoter love alive. How do we keep it going? So let's imagine you get married after dating someone a long time. You had a really wonderful relationship, and boom, you get married. What a wonderful day. And you tell your spouse, darling, I love you. Okay, and what a beautiful moment that was. And then 3 years later, your spouse comes to you and says, hey, you know what? I'm not sure you love me anymore. And you're like, but yo, I specifically told you that I loved you when we got married 3 years ago. How could you possibly say this? To which your spouse is going to look at you and go, are you clueless? Come on, man. So here's the point. We got to always make sure that we're keeping that love alive. They have to feel acknowledged, appreciated, included, welcome, all the things in that guest pyramid, but specifically appreciated as a promoter time and time again. Otherwise, you know what? They're going to be like, it was great. I used to love that place. Kind of don't feel the love anymore, so I've moved on. Ultimately, what we want is for promoters to continuously feel appreciated, and that's what's going to have them at the top of this guest pyramid, okay? Just time and time and time and time again, all right? And every time they come in and have a great appreciation experience with us, they're going to tell more first-time guests about it, and we can start the whole process over again. So remember, our promoters want to feel appreciated, okay? I appreciate your appreciation, says Leo. Okay, let's talk about the last section of our guest pyramid, the very tip top right up here, very small group. We'll call them our critical friends, okay, critical friends. So this is really only a very small number, like 1-2 dozen people, and we're going to call them critical friends because, yep, there they are right at the top, boom. They're the promoters who give us really valuable feedback when they're invited to do so. And they know us and our concepts and our team and our restaurant so well that they give really great feedback and they feel like they're invited to critique and help us improve our business. All right, so you've got a handout that says Wanted Critical Friends. You're going to take a few minutes now, read through that handout, and you're going to write down the following. One is, what makes critical friends different or distinct from the rest of our promoter group? How are they different? Next, why is their feedback and perspective maybe like particularly valuable compared to just an average person who's in or an online reviewer or what have you? Why do we really care and see the feedback we get from critical friends to be really valuable? How might we find and keep critical friends here? What can we be doing to recruit and maintain critical friend relationships with that small group of our guests? And then finally, is there anyone that you could think of that's a candidate for being a critical friend? So answer all those questions after reading through, and then be ready to discuss those with your mentor. All right, so let's recap the key points of this presentation: reputation management, revenue growth. Number one, we got to keep a flow of FTGs, first-time guests, coming in, and then move them up the guest pyramid. That's how we make most of our money, whether we're focused on this or not, okay? And remember, we've got an advantage over our competition because we're focused on it, and for the most part, they are not. This is the key to revenue growth. Managing our reputation is the key to revenue growth. Can't say that enough. Here are the feelings that we want our guests to have, okay? First-time guests, welcome. Occasional guests, included. Regulars, acknowledged. And if we do those things, we're going to grow revenue organically, okay? And ultimately, when our regulars become promoters, okay, because they're appreciated, all right, we stimulate revenue growth when they continuously refer those first-time guests, and we start the cycle all over again. But remember, the most important way that we do all these things is by focusing on the emotional experience of our guests and make them feel like they are important. Because they've got what hanging around their neck? A sign that says, make me feel important. That's it for this time. You have a lot of reading and thinking to do. Talk to your mentor about it, and we'll see you next time here at the Rail Trail Open Book Training.